divide us. He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
All right. Well, let me get in for a second. Sorry, man.
He will not divide us.
Hey, what's up?
He will not divide us.
I love you, baby.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Yo, seeing racist.
He will not divide us.
Here you go.
He will not divide us. Yeah, let me see. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Guide.
He will not divide us.
Come on.
He will not divide us.
Come on.
This guy wants you to masturbate.
No, I don't.
This guy
don't
wants to become a masturbator like him.
All right.
This guy wants you to sink into a hole of masturbation by telling you about video games. If this is what you want to pay attention to.
Alright. This guide is aimed at players seeking to do high-level content. It assumes you have some experience with the game and access to rare mods, but new players can also make use of this guide if they're wondering which frame build to work towards. It also assumes you have a basic understanding of what a particular frame's abilities do if you don't read the wiki. C30 Greek is a bitch! An overview of frames is presented as well as builds for most of them. Above all else, this guide seeks to answer questions such as, is X frame good? Which frame should I make? And how do I build X frame? Frames are tiered based on their endgame potential, prioritizing group play though solo play is also taken into account.
He's reading a guide to a video game.
There is a soft spectrum. There is a soft spectrum in the listing, i.e. frames listed earlier are generally better than those listed later. For example, Chroma and Mesa are generally considered better than Vault and Neza. The terms post-DEAC, see FAQ at the end for explanation of DEAC, endgame and high level are used interchangeably. And in this guide are used mostly to refer to endless sortie missions, basically anytime you face level 50 plus enemies, with a focus towards level 80 to 100.
Is your mom still watching? Are you still talking
Some
to your
focus is given towards long endless runs, level 100 plus, but keep in mind, very few people do those. This guide does not grade based on missions with enemies less than level 50, but frames that are good endgame generally are good everywhere. Build guidelines are given for almost every frame except some really bad ones. When applicable, purposes besides endgame content, e.g. Hydroid for farming, are also explained. A general how to build frame section and FAQ are at the end. Unless otherwise stated, all frames should aim to build max efficiency. Summary of frames, great tier. Frames in this tier have high CC utility and can perform multiple roles well. Because of this game's emphasis on CC utility, a frame must have high CC utility to belong in this tier, like Loki, Frost, Nova. Good tier. Most frames fall here. Frames are good at their particular roles, though many lack the high utility or flexibility of great tier frames. Better or worse frames in this tier is less dependent on the frame itself and more upon the mission or role you want to do. Like Valbon, Mesa, Ivara, Chroma, Nidus, Necros, Wukong, Inaros, Mirage, Equinox, Rhino, Trinity, Nyx, Banshee, Siren, Excalibur, Zephyr, Volt, Mag, and Neza. Bad tier. Frames in this tier are outshined by other frames who perform their role better, though several bad frames have other uses besides standard endgame content, like Titania, Atlas, Ash, Ember, Hydroid, and Limbo. Best tier, forever. This tier is reserved because I fucking said so. Valkyr Prime. Frame builds by alphabetical order. Ash, bad tier. Rolls, survivability, and damage. Edgelord frame that got gutted by the nerf to Bladestorm, which has one good ability. Although Bladestorm's high finisher damage remains unchanged, marking enemies using LOS is incredibly laborious and simply less effective than using your guns. Also, Bladestorm's energy usage Also, Bladestorm's energy usage more than doubled. Compared to other damage frames like Mesa, Ash just has no place. Furthermore, he continues to lack any form of utility or CC. His only other ability worth mentioning is Smokescreen, which is a decent invisibility skill that received some nice quality of life improvements. There is one build, Smokescreen / Bladestorm build that runs high duration, high strength, and high range. Yes, it needs everything now. Because you spend significant portions of time out of Bladestorm, you actually need high durations for Smokescreen to stay alive. Go invis, mark enemies, Bladestorm them, watch you get out damaged by any other frame with a good gun.
He will not divide us.
Mod your melee weapon.
He will not divide us.
Ooh, yeah.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
That's awesome.
He will not divide us.
Get off of me, you're gonna have a problem, buddy.
He will not divide us.
You need to get off of me right now. Get off of me.
He will not divide us.
Hey! Hurry up! This guy won't get off of me!
I'm not touching you.
You have been pressing on me, man.
He will not
divide us. I need you to get off me.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us. No. He will not divide us.
I would love if
He will not divide us.
You're welcome.
He will not divide us.
Where was I?
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Falcons up 13-0.
He will not divide us.
Falcons are winning the Super Bowl.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
I'm standing here, I'm just reading this thing. It's completely fine, but this guy's like pressing on me. He was pressing on me, he was pushing on me.
You are touching him. Listen. We came here, how much longer ago did we come here and the two you said you were going to argue? Or was this a different group?
Oh no, this was a different group, and now he's just like trying to get at me for some reason.
You guys all want to be here for a peaceful reason, that's totally fine. Just don't touch each other.
I don't think he does. He's touching me too. Now he's touching him.
Yeah, he's getting in his face too. I don't know why. He's like twice his size. It's weird.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what type of You're all here for the same reason. You're all here for a peaceful reason. Stop getting in each other's face. Say what you need to say and then move on. There's no reason to be arguing with each other. So take your 5 minutes for the camera and then you take your 5 minutes for the camera. But don't hog the camera because then you know you're going to piss people off, you know?
Alright, no problem.
That's instigating. You don't want to instigate an argument with somebody because you want to hog something.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to say their piece. No one wants to argue with us, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to have to deal with that. You guys do what you need to do, and let's see it all.
Alright. No problem, man.
He will not divide us.
Where the fuck was I?
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
You know what? I'm just gonna skip all this fluff because it's fucking retarded.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Actually, I think more. Alright, hold on a second.
He will not divide us. He will not.
Do.
He will not divide us.
Oh!
He will not divide us.
List
He
of
will
good
not
frame
divide us.
augments.
He will not divide us.
He will not
The
divide
vast
us.
majority of frame augments are garbage.
He will not divide
Here's a list of the good ones. Some people like
He will
X
not
means
divide
exactly
us.
that. It's fairly popular with
He
some
will not
effectiveness,
divide us.
although an equal or greater number of
He
people
will not
dislike it.
divide us.
If an augment is not listed at all, it's safely not
He
worth
will not
getting.
divide us.
Most augments are further elaborated upon in their frame descriptions.
He will not divide us.
Ash. Some people like Fatal Teleport with a covert lethality dagger.
He will not divide us.
Some people like Aura Gaze
will
for
not divide
Atlas,
us.
but there are much better farming tools.
will not divide us.
Banshee, Resonance,
He will not divide
Resonating
us.
Quake, Chroma,
He will
none.
not divide us.
Ember Prime, some people like
He will not divide
Firequake.
us.
Equinox,
He
Peaceful
will not divide
Provocation. Oh, irony.
He will not divide us.
Excalibur, none.
He will not divide us.
Frost, some people like Chilling
He will
Globe.
not divide us.
Hydroid, Pilfering Storm.
He will not divide us.
Inaros, none.
He will not divide us.
Ivara, some people like
He will
Infiltrate
not
for
divide
spy
us.
missions.
not
Limbo,
divide
none. Loki, Irradiating
divide us.
Disarm. Some people like Hush
He
and
will not
Invisibility for
divide us.
stealth runs. Mag,
He will
none.
not
They said
divide us.
none.
He will not divide us.
Mirage, Hall of
He will not divide
Malevolence.
us.
Necros,
He will
Despoil,
not
Shield of
divide us.
Shadows, Creeping Terrify. Some
He
people
will
like
not
Soul
divide us.
Survivor. Neza, some
He
people
will
like
not
Warding
divide us.
Halo, but this does not hold up to
He
Sword
will
Eat Your
not divide
enemies. Nova, some
will
people
not
like
divide
Escape
us.
Velocity. Nyx, Assimilate,
divide us.
Oberon, none. Rhino,
divide us.
Iron Shrapnel. Some people like
He will not
Ironclad
divide us.
Charge.
He will not divide us.
He will
Saren,
not divide
some
us.
people like Regenerative Molt. Titania,
divide us.
none. Trinity, Vampire Leech. Valkyr, Eternal War.
He will not
Valbon,
divide us.
Repelling Bastille. Volt, some people like Capacitance. Wukong, some people like Primal Rage. Zephyr, Jetstream.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will
Okay,
not divide us.
He will not divide us.
this
He will
sucks.
not divide us.
He will 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 not.
How important?
He will not
You know
divide
what? I'll
us.
just end this with this because this guy's
He
really
will not
being a
divide
spurg.
us.
He will not divide us.
How important
will
are
not
prime
divide us.
mods? Not
He
very
will not divide
important.
us.
Prime flow is often
He will not
overkill compared
divide
to
us.
regular flow. Prime continuity, continuity provides a more noticeable boost, but regular continuity will still serve what you find.
He will not divide us.
Overall, if you are short on endo, don't bother
He will
with
not
prime
divide
mods
us.
because they require absurd amounts of endo
He
to
will
level
not
up for
divide
only a
us.
minimal advantage over regular flow
He will not
/
divide us.
continuity. Corrupted mods,
He will
e.g.
not divide
fleeting
us.
expertise, transient
He
fortitude,
will
are
not
significantly
divide
more
us.
impactful than prime
He will not
mods
divide
and
us.
are core on every frame. So
He
you
will
should
not divide
prioritize
us.
acquiring corrupted mods
He
over
will not
prime
divide
mods.
us. He will not divide us.
I now have cancer.
He will not
Thanks,
divide
dear
us.
queer.
He will not divide us.
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 He will not divide us. So 15-year-old listeners, that's what this guy has to offer you. It's a video game guide. You know, and then there's real people out there who can give you a real life that isn't riddled with loneliness. Yeah, these guys are taken off because they wasted their vocation being on the internet in real life somehow taking their Reddit addiction and bringing it into reality, you know, to this camera. You can do better than that. I know you can do better than that. Go out and live a real life. I know it's hard and you're awkward. So was I at your age. I still am, but I've learned to deal with it. You know, you can do that too. So, you know, good luck getting off the internet. He will not divide us, believe it or not. You see this guy is down here practicing togetherness despite all of his belief in whatever the hell he was talking about 2 hours ago about Botswana or whatever's irrelevant to you anyway. You know, let me know if you have any questions. You know, I'll be out here in the real world somewhere. Yeah. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
He will not divide us.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.